cases and come up here and be like a medicine man and sell it. I have one of the last batches. It's 3 years old. You can drink it, but you can't get it anymore. Dr. Pepper forced them to stop making it, saying they violated their I guess the final straw was they had a fellow climb Mount Everest, and at the summit he had a can of Dublin Dr. Pepper and was drinking it. Okay. It's hanging on. But, come on in, folks. I'll tell you all about the blacksmith. How you doing today? I feel like I'm on the Titanic. I gotta feed the fire here. Now they got the fire going, I gotta figure out what I'm gonna make. Now, what I'm doing here is we use coal to make the fire. But the coal itself has a lot of impurities in it. Like here's a lump of coal, something you get for Christmas. But it contains moisture, it contains impurities. And what we do is we build a fire and we put coal around it. And as it burns out the impurities and becomes what's called coke. Coke burns and it's very clean, so when you're melting and shaping the iron, it doesn't rust, or we'll say oxide. What I'm doing with the water here in the can, I'm just going around wetting the coal a little bit to slow the process down so it lasts a little bit longer. And here in the blacksmith shop, we make all sorts of items and things. Of course, we're mostly associated with horseshoes. And the reason we make the horseshoes is a horse's hoof is very, very fragile. You know, it grows like your fingernail. It has to be shaped and sized. And a horse, especially domesticated, is used when it walks on a hard surface or used for pulling. We want to put something on the bottom of its hoof to make it last longer so the hoof doesn't split or have any infections. Yes, they do wear out. The nails as they go through cause the animal no pain or discomfort. It just holds it in place. And every 60, 90 days, it's taken off, the hoof is reshaped and nailed back on, or if the horseshoe is worn out, they'll make a new one. Now, in this day and age, of course, you can go and buy horseshoes already made, you know, factory made. In the day of the blacksmith, they made their own horseshoes. You notice the different size, shapes of anvils. They use this part here called the horn, which they would heat up and bend the steel or the iron and go around and make it. Sometimes it's embellishments. You know what this is, guys? That's a rose. Well, it's supposed to be a rose. I'm not making this up. I didn't make it, Stuart did. But we made all sorts of utensils. Some of it was made pretty with the leaf. This is a hook. Very, very nice. This is all handmade. And this is something to be nailed to the wall, and you would use it to hang your utensils or mom's bonnet or your apron or dad's gun. We made knives. This is a blank. And there were different types of knives. I mean, it can be used for hunting, for carving, for anything. Usually on the handle here there was deer antler or wood that was put on to have the handle. These both have to be workable. When they're finally done, it would go on the wheel that's behind the gentleman here. That we have a young lad of 9 or 10 would sit there with his leg and pump that lever up and down, and he would sit there all day grinding and sharpening up the knives. Now the knife had to be strong enough to last out in the wilderness, but because if it was too brittle, it would break, and that wouldn't do very good. You know, but if it was too soft, you'd be constantly sharpening it, and it wouldn't last very long. So in a sense, you had to be somewhat of an amateur metallurgist to know how to make various items here. Up here, it's all wrought iron. You can see they made hinges, handles, tools, all different types of implements for the kitchen. There's a spatula, there's a spoon, a lash, meat fork, all made from wrought iron which you can't get anymore, so we have to use the ubiquitous railroad spike that they discard. Do you guys know what this is? No, that's not to put on Dad's seat before he sits down.
What is
As
that?
one kid said.
It's like a snake.
It's a candle holder. No, that's not a snake. That's these guys here. These are non-venomous. You can pet these. This is a candle holder. Again, we're using simple material. We can make it look very, very artsy-craftsy, or let's just use rebar. Candle would go here as the wax drips down. It doesn't drip on your hand. You can go out into the darkness and light your way to see what's going on outside. Or here you can have a hook, you can hang it up, and you had light in the room, because at night the only light you had was from your fire, what you use for cooking, for heating, and for protection. You know, blacksmiths did everything by hand. They rarely had mechanical things. Like that drill right there, that's a hand-powered drill. That didn't come until about the late 1880s, early 1890s, and that was a very expensive item. Here, you can see like this is actually a rack which will go onto the wall. You see the holes that are here. That could be a monkey bar. That's true. They didn't have too many monkeys in the Wild West, but they actually made holes in metal by heating up the end, very hot, putting over what's called a pintle hole. Blacksmith would take his punch and his hammer and keep hitting it. Eventually it would go through and have a perfectly round hole. Now the blacksmiths made the nails. You didn't go to the corner store and buy them. These are what some of the nails look like. These are smaller ones. This is a large one. They also made screws. Very crude by today's standards, but I'd rather have something made in the U.S. than made in China. You know, I'll probably get in trouble for saying that because it's being recorded, but that's okay. But these are some of the things in a nutshell that the blacksmith did.
Hold on, was not like this. We had real nails.
Yeah.
Here's a screwdriver. Oh, a screwdriver.
Not like
Oh, here we go.
these.
Right.
You mean one of these things?
Whoa.
That's a big one.
That's a big one.
That's a big screwdriver. As you can see, this was some type of implement that was used for fireplace, something modern. But Stuart was just heating it up and hammering it and making it into a screwdriver, because sometimes you need a screwdriver to use around the shop here.
It's not one of those.
No.
Yeah. Well, let's see what we have here. We don't have much. We have. This is a newer nail. You know what they use a nail this size for? And trust me, I use these. I help the guy for log cabins. We put the logs on. These spikes go in to help hold them and shift them, keep them from shifting. Not so much to keep them together because it's all weight and it's all jigsawed together. So we're going to do some work with this. Fire. Now, depending on the color of the metal, will tell you what you can do with it. If it is white, you can take two pieces of white metal together and hammer them together and weld those two items together. That's how they used to do repair work back in the day of Wild West City. If it's orange to red, you can bend the item. You know, it's soft enough to bend into shape, but not break. When you use the anvil is cold. It draws heat away, so you have very little time to do your work. Then it has to go back in the fire, heat up again.
Right.
If you put it in the water, then it cools it rapidly, and quelching we call it, and it will make the metal harder. But if you cool it too rapidly, it also makes it crack, and that's what happened here with this handle here. You can see it's a little crack. In the olden days, you used to have charts and drawings. If Mom wanted to bug Dad to put a new handle on the new door that he just made, he'd come in, I say, I'd like to make this right here. And the blacksmith says, okay, I'll be ready in a couple of weeks. So you go home, 20 miles away, you come back into town, you get some supplies, and it'll be done. And you might trade instead of money, food, eggs. There's a lot of bartering in
This
this.
one looks like a duck.
Looks like a duck, huh? Why a duck?
This one looks like a duck. This one looks like wheels. This one looks like a snake. This one looks like
I
a
see. You do not want to touch it.
Look how precious. Watch. Now look, now we can bend it.
See, I'm using the horn to give it its shape.
Wow.
And I get to this point, grab this real well, and I can come around. Now that hook on this end, now you have something for Mom to hang her pots while she's cooking. And you would have various length hooks because you want to vary how close the pot was to the fire, and that would vary the temperature in the pot. So Mom didn't burn the cake like I did last week at the chuck wagon, or undercook or overcook, whatever you were making. Simple little items like this are very indispensable because think about it. You didn't make it. And you can see that the color is disappearing. Do you still want to touch this? No. I put this in the water. So what we'll do, just a simple little demonstration. We'll hang this here out of the way because I don't want anybody to touch it. I want it to cool down gradually. But you notice, unless I have very good flame, see the little flakes coming off? Oxide, that's rust. That's why it's important for a blacksmith to make a proper fire, so that it will not rust and it will last. Once an item is made, they usually put oil on the metal to keep it from rusting, and it usually will last indefinitely. If you look around the town here, you'll see on some buildings, you'll see handles. We have a door back here. There's another road. There's the Mountain Man. There's a schoolhouse on the next road here. But if you look at this handle, it's painted green. But that was made here. All the metal stops were made here.
Nice. All right. Very
So,
cool.
that's what we have. When you look at the only stagecoach in New Jersey, and you see a lot of wood, but look at how much metal is on here, especially around the wheels. The blacksmith had to make the metal band that went around the wooden wheel, and it had to fit just so. Because if it was too small, it wouldn't fit. If it was too big, it'd fall off.
Yeah.
And they used to do that, like you see, by hand. So, I hope you enjoyed the little demonstration.
Yes, thank you very much.
Sorry I couldn't build a Lexus for you today,
All right.
but BMW's on Friday.